This is Lydia Lopinto, and I run Greenleaf Publishers, which publishes the Investigative Voices reports. We have about 6 of these reports. Some of them are doing quite well, and they look at research from the other side of the spectrum of the media. As we know, the media that is called mainstream, these are the ones that people consider mainstream, although they're no longer mainstream, all seem to have the same narrative, and the narrative always follows many of the things that the Democrats want to push. So obviously these mainstream media are more arms of Democrat agendas than they are actual news programs. They will always favor the Democrat agenda. And you know that. I mean, if you've tried searching for something, you know that not only are the mainstream media always pushing the Democrat agenda, no matter how ridiculous it might be, they also partner up with Google and the Microsoft Bing and some other search engines to actually suppress articles, genuine articles that question these agendas and go against the agenda. So it's not free press anymore. Free press is not where you Google something and all they say is that anybody that doesn't agree with this agenda, and you will see it when you do a Google search, anybody that does not agree with the agenda is either a far right activist, or they're basically conspiracy theories, or they are making up information because they're the only ones that are right. There is no other truth other than the truth that they want to add to the search engine. And you know this. You can look up, for example, whale deaths in the eastern United States, and you will find that what they'll say is that everybody that has seen a dead whale on the shore is a conspiracy theorist, and that these whales died because ships ran into them or they got caught in nets, even though the pictures do not show any evidence of this. When you then try to look for deaths outside of Google, you go to DuckDuckGo, you will find that 3 times as many articles exist citing these whale deaths, and I'm getting off topic here, then the Google actually shows you. They actually have deleted any whale deaths so that they can continue to push the green agenda. And the green agenda, as we know, has a lot of brown, disgusting spots on it, and it's rotting away because there is nothing really green about a windmill. We've already found out that they're not green, that they have lubricating oil, and that they're not as green as we thought. Okay. And so to suppress information that will give you this data, but it'll show you to make up your mind at meetings and just tell you that it's not what people think, and anybody that thinks that is a conspiracy theorist, that's fascism. I'm sorry, what else can you call something like that when they manipulate the information that is fed to you? Okay, so what we need to do is take a look at, and I apologize, I have a problem with my eye. I know it looks strange, but then the reports actually uncover this. And how do I uncover it? Well, I have to search data on alternative search engines. I have to use foreign search engines. Some of the foreign search engines do not suppress this information, but they capture it, but they're in other languages. So basically, I end up having to translate that information. AI helps me with this enormous task of searching other engines, enlisting information, and even with AI help, it is of work. So how can we expect normal people to go and find information when they actively suppress it in the search engine, whether it's Microsoft or Google, so that you only get one point of view? And it is sometimes so obvious when you look at it that it makes you angry that they have algorithms that actually suppress data in a fascist way. Okay. And everybody knows it, but apparently we can't do anything about it. So we go to alternative search engines. I use AI because it can search a search engine and go through 25 or 30 pages quickly and give me the results. It will also identify which search engine was actually suppressing data by comparing the lists, which it has done. And in the case of this one report on woke, that was done quite a bit. Okay. In fact, it got to the point where I actually had to reprogram my workspace so that it wouldn't run into the booby traps that the search engines put in to prevent AI or anybody to get the truth about this information. And all of us that are fighting right now woke as parents or grandparents, we know that it's a very fascistic type of agenda that they're basically uh, pushing down our throats, disregarding um, our traditions, our religion, and our own ways of that we want to raise our children. And it is so bad that I wrote a report on it, and I had to fight with AI because they program it into the AI that there's certain subjects that they cannot go through. And I had to work at that. I had to do manual searches because it won't do it. It's protecting the woke agenda all the way down to the different AI programs, all the way into the search engines. We are basically prisoners inside this woke agenda that doesn't allow any type of different opinion. I posted this on a authors group, and already I had the LGBTQ people tell me I was posting hate because I posted an actual photo of um, an actual drag queen in an actual reading for children. And this man had a beard and was dressed as a woman. It's a performer, okay? That was hate. I said, but it's not hate because this is an actual photo. How is that hate if I'm posting an actual photo? This is what goes on at these drag queen shows, which so many parents are against. Okay. But this is not all that anti woke, no more woke, unmasking the assault on children and tradition. This is not all that it covers. It covers the entire woke agenda, and it will give you important information. For example, it will show you who's funding the woke agenda. No, it is not a grassroots movement that started when people felt they were being discriminated. No, no. This was fabricated in actually funded by different organizations, of which I'm not going to mention on this podcast, but you will see them on the book, who's funding it. In the numberings, the numbering, you will not believe the billions that go into woke. If we took those billions that are going into supporting the woke agenda at so many levels, grants, all kinds of things to push the woke agenda, we could definitely cure childhood cancers, because we are talking about billions into the woke agenda. You'll also find out the motivations for the woke agenda. Why do we have it? What is it? What are the different types of platforms that they have, the different types of agendas that they have, and why do they target children? And you will find out that there is a parallel to this method of spreading an agenda that was practiced by fascists, including Hitler. The first thing you do is you indoctrinate the children, because you have to bypass the parents. The parental morality, religions, everything has to be bypassed, has to be eliminated. The first thing is, of course, they eliminate religion. They turn the whole agenda into a cult-like system, that the only thing in those kids' minds is going to be that agenda. It's going to be complete indoctrination. At that point, the kids will rebel against the parents and call them old-fashioned, which is typical anyway. When you talk to parents and grandparents, children know everything. They're born knowing. Otherwise, they don't actually need an education. They're born knowing just about everything. So it's just, if you convince them that they know everything and that only they have the truth, the kids will believe it, because they want to rebel against the parents. So that's a good way to indoctrinate children. The way that anybody that wants to take over your children and convince them to do certain things, they utilize those methods. So it's a cult-like method, it's an indoctrination method. They use the media, they use things like YouTube, they use cartoons, they will use very few magazines, because the kids are hardly reading anymore. They don't read. Video games is very, very much a way to spread woke agendas. And one of the agendas I discussed all the way down in the appendix is this drag queen story hour. As a grandmother, I just can't imagine such a thing. But I've looked at it. I have to say, some of them sound good. I mean, the performers are people, and they have a flair for making children interested in things. They read books to them, they act things out. I mean, they're not all perverts. I mean, just because they're drag queens. I don't say that there's, that I won't hold anything against the performers. Those performers are people who decided they want to get paid to perform in front of children because they needed a job, so they do a good job. But let me explain to you how this started, this drag queen, and why so many parents are against it. Number one, of course, numerous religions do not accept drag queens. There is bigotry, of course. But is the way to solve the bigotry issue with adults to go and act in front of the children? I don't understand how you're going to get inclusivity by performing in front of children who know nothing about sexuality or anything else. As far as they're concerned, you're one of the characters in the book. They don't understand that you're a drag queen. You could be anybody. So it's stupid to think that that's going to make you inclusive. I would say the program started in 2015, and the reason they started it in San Francisco is because they wanted inclusivity, and they thought by reading to children, people might realize that these are human beings, that there's nothing wrong with them, and that, and maybe get to the parents this way, which sounds good, but it didn't work out. They became very big because they got money from a couple of big foundations, including the Ford Foundation and some state money or city money. And the whole program was pushed into libraries, camps, and um, museums, and any public venue where the performers would be dressed up as characters in a book and read the book and act it out and make it fun for the children. Is that bad? Not really. That's not bad. Okay, that's fun. They're performers. But what is bad is that lots of performers in New York City would have liked that job. Lots of out of work actors would have liked that job. But they did exactly what they aimed to fix: lack of inclusivity. They only hired drag queens. Why not hire a ballet dancer, or a singer, or an actress that's out of work, or somebody else? You could hire any number of people to perform these acts, and not just discriminate that only drag queens can make a performance interesting to children. So they started off saying that, oh, we want inclusivity for drag queens and people of the LGBTQ community, and they excluded everybody else from the program. So they did exactly the opposite of what they set out to do. Okay, so in the end, all they did is isolate themselves. Parents were outraged. Parents they were in 15 countries, so they were quite successful in creating these programs and pushing these programs around. Of course, they would get money from foundations. They didn't have to make money out of tickets. Each time they performed, they got $600 to $2,000 from the library or the museum or whatever it was, and that was part of the revenue, plus um, the grants. Now, this money only went to drag queens. That's not fair. Why not? Why not dance teachers? Why not music teachers? Why not authors of the very books that they were promoting? Authors could do this. Actresses, anybody that, other than just drag queens, seems to be that they were not inclusive. They were the last thing but inclusive, because only the drag queens got those jobs and got access to that grant money. And it was significant amount of money that they got to 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 push these performances all over the world. As a result, since people don't know what drag queens are or anything else, there was a backlash. There were all kinds of demonstrations in Australia and the UK and in different countries. The Muslims are mad. The Jews, Orthodox Jews, were mad. The Christians were mad. Everybody was mad. Um, yeah, some people went to the show and said, well, it wasn't so bad. The guy got dressed up, and then the kids liked it. It was colors. It wasn't so bad. Okay, but the fact that it was a drag queen, they decided to publish that. Why not call it something else? Why do you just call it? They had to go ahead and be inclusive by pushing the fact that they were drag queens. And that's exactly what created the backlash. And what planet is this a program that makes any sense. Okay. It doesn't make sense. And it is an example of many, many like programs that have existed, created by well meaning people that think that they need to push their agenda on everyone else. And if you're not in agreement with their agenda, of course, you're either a far right person or you're a Proud Boys. This is how they portrayed the parents that were protesting these things. They portrayed them as far right Proud Boys when they were actually housewives protesting against the show. And that's how ridiculous it all is. It's ridiculous that they uh, would portray parents that way. But the media wants to push an agenda, and that's why people don't like it. Because when you push something down the throats of parents, especially when they're trying to protect their children, it's not going to work. Okay, the children come first. We do not care. As a grandparent, I am sorry if you're a drag queen. I really don't care if you want to be included in my family. You know, and you want to have a show and you want to be inclusive. That's your got to convince other adults that you merit inclusivity. You don't use the kids to do that. Okay, because the kids know nothing about what your sexuality is. They don't know anything. You could be a cartoon character for all they care. They just see a person with an outfit, with a costume. They don't see you as a drag queen. They don't know who you are, and that's not inclusivity. You're just fooling the kids. You're not telling them the truth about yourself. So that's my opinion. Would I go to one of these shows with the kids? I don't think so. There's plenty of other shows around that I would choose to take. I also write books. I would read the books myself. Uh, I don't think I would take my child to see a drag queen perform. I don't think that's appropriate, in my opinion, as a grandma. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but it's not that I hate drag queens. It's just that I don't think they belong next to young children. I don't think the children have any idea what it is. And I don't think that if they have a program that is getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in just grants plus millions of dollars from the libraries, the schools, and the camps who pay about anywhere from $600 to $2,000 per performance. I think that money needs to go to every type of performer and not just exclusively drag queens, because then you're the bigot. You are the discrimination person. You're discriminating against people, saying that only drag queens can make a fun show for the children. That is my opinion. You wanted inclusivity. Well, inclusive means everybody. It doesn't mean just drag queens. And just because someone sees a drag queen, they're not going to immediately think anything better of drag queens, or in their minds it has nothing to do with LGBTQ plus. They don't know what it is, so it serves no purpose, in my opinion, to have this and to have the backlash of taking a child to a show in the city in a public library, a bunch of parents with signs outside complaining that this is not a good show. That's going to make the children upset. You know, why are you doing this on purpose to draw the backlash? It's almost like you're asking for it. uh, then the kids are going to be upset. So I really don't think it's a good program. But let me continue this podcast with the fact that these asinine programs by the left have been around since I was a parent many years ago. Okay, so in the 1980s, there was another similar type program, ill-conceived program, money laundering program. Okay, my daughter was attending a public school in the city. Uh, I was told that she would now be sent every day, or I think it was every day or 3 times a week, to go to a senior citizens a nursing home to entertain the nursing home people. Okay, the patients there, and there was a nursing home up on Riverdale Avenue, and the people could be anywhere from, I don't know, 80 to 90 to 100 years old. And not all of them were well in the head. A lot of them had Alzheimer's and all kinds of things. And I thought this was another one of these ill-conceived programs that Democrats and they come up with, and it's only for money for themselves. So I was told my daughter was picked to go 3 times a week to this nursing home to sit on the lap of people that I did not know who they were and spend the whole day there and then come back to the school. And because my daughter was bright, I was told in the letter she would have no problem catching up with the curriculum. And this was going to last a certain about a whole semester. I mean, the first half of the year, she would go to this. I looked at the form and I said, I disagree. I don't want my daughter, attending this program. Okay. And I thought that would be the end of it. Oh, no, that was not the end of it. I was called in by the principal, who said that my daughter would have no problem. She's smart. I should consider it. I said, no, I don't want to. He threatened me. He made my daughter cry. He threatened me. He told me he would get me out of the school if I didn't agree. My daughter was crying. It was a horrible situation, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I asked my husband, I asked Grandma 1 and Grandma 2 and Grandpa, what do you think I should do? Should I allow her to go? And they said, no, we don't. And I asked my older mother-in-law, I said, what do you think goes on in these nursing homes? Should I send my daughter there? She says, oh, no, these people could be very ill and your daughter will get sick. Well, who knows? Some of these men could be pedophiles. You don't know. If you're not there, you shouldn't let go. So I was a young mother then, so I needed advice from older people. Fortunately, I had people I could ask. And I said, what am I going to do? So I started looking, since I realized that the school wasn't going to let me get away with it, because the principal said that there was a lot of money involved, that for every child he sent, money would come from the city to fund this. And if he didn't have my daughter in it, he would lose, I don't know how much money. So he was threatening me. So it's unbelievable, but it happened. So finally, I found a school, a private school. It was $8,000 in those days. That was a lot of money, and I borrowed it, and I put my daughter, I think the next day, into the private school. And life was private school from now on. Okay, I got a second job. My husband worked harder. We paid the money, and we said goodbye to these problems. On top of that, they had an after-school program, which was very good. And I had a lot of references from friends who were sending their kids there. I went to the school. I checked everything out. I told them what happened with this public school, and they told me that this is not unusual and that they don't do anything like that. You know, the kids are there all the time. They're not sent off to nursing homes or anything else. And I was happy. It was a beautiful location. Anyway, my daughter went into that school. I get a call like 2 weeks later that they were going to send me to court because I didn't send my daughter back to school. And I told them, well, she's in a private school. You can call the private school if she's enrolled there. So she is attending school. And they said, okay, that's the end of it. So they were still trying to threaten me even after I took the kid out of the school. Okay. Uh, this I know is unbelievable, but this happened to me. All right. This is why I'm so completely uh, upset by these woke programs, because it's the same thing. They always make money these things, and this this principal was actually making cash out of every kid that he sent to the program, and he wanted my daughter to be one because he needed one more kid, and that's why he wasn't going to give up the money. Well, nobody believed me. This happened only 3 months later after this event. I look at the news. Karma had come to this principal. Real karma. He was arrested, not because of this program with the nursing home, but because he had taken the money that he was granted to fix the roof of the school and used it for a junket in one of the mountain resorts where they went. They had food, they had dancing, anything. The teachers went there, they all had a good time, and they spent the money that was supposed to fix the roof of this public school, and it was leaking on the children. So he was fired. I think he was arrested, and so will a lot of people that were participating in this scam of this criminal activities using money for themselves uh, were thrown out. And I think they got a new principal and they got new people. So karma came to that guy. But in the meantime, it took months, and my daughter could have been in real trouble. She could have been really harmed, okay, by who knows what in the nursing home, whether it's a disease or whatever. I didn't want her there. Why should I have to accept something that I didn't want as a parent? So that's why I felt strongly about the parents that are fighting today against the woke agenda. How are they being pushed to? In a lot of cases, these drag queen performers show up at schools and camps, in the libraries, and the library is paying taxpayer dollars to fund them. The school is, or the camp is paying your money to fund them. And why should the parents uh, not be contacted and not opt out of these things, both financially and participating in these things? This should be totally optional. This should be something where they charge tickets. And if you want to pay $10 to bring your kid to this performance and you feel he needs to be exposed to a drag queen, then of course that's your choice. But don't force it on anybody that later is his only solution is to go outside and parade around with a sign and then call that person a far right activist or a proud boy when it's some housewife from New Jersey that is complaining about this. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is how ridiculous they are. So the anti-woke research report is very comprehensive. You're going to find where these people get the money, what the agendas are, what they're doing, how do they manipulate the media, how do they manipulate the search engines, why are they trying to do this, and what their objectives are. And lots of case histories and stories. And every chapter, there's 180 pages here, has a set of references. You can go back to the original references. It also has a lot of glossary material because a lot of the wordings that they use, we studies too much. I don't define LGBTQ or go into those things. This is not about that. I don't have any qualms if you're gay, lesbian, or anything else. In fact, there's a whole chapter about lesbians and gays who are against woke. So if you're confused and think that this is something that if you're against woke, you're definitely a bigot against different types of sexualities, that is not even close to the truth. The same people, the lesbians, the gays, the people of different genders are against the woke because they feel used. They feel that this is not what they want because woke encompasses a whole set of ideologies. And I'll give you a clue: the ideology that woke came from originally is Marxism. It is a Marxist ideal. Okay, it is uh, a Marxist ideology, and that's also documented in the War Good. It shows you where it came from, how they developed it, and why they developed it, and what they're trying to do with woke. So if you think that woke is about protecting LGBTQ people and making things inclusive, nah. Nobody spends that kind of money, billions and billions of dollars to be nice and inclusive. No, no, it's not about that. It's always about somebody making money off of it. Just like it happened to me with this so-called nice program with the old people. You were going to send the kids and be with the old people, and it was all going to be so nice. And some guy who later got arrested was making money off of it. And I ended up having to spend $8,000 a year in those days to send her to a private school. Okay. And I went private school after that. I just worked hard and we went private school because the public school system was full of this stuff. I came from a public school system and never faced these things, but yeah, it was full of it. So yeah, so no more woke. It is not a hateful book. It doesn't have anything to do with LGBTQ. It has it has to do with agendas being pushed by big corporations uh, for their own personal ends and to push Marxism into this country. And yeah, that's what it really is. And you'll get all the research. And it's a tool for parents because if they truly understand what these ideologies they're pushing in the schools are for and what the real reason for them are, they'll realize what they have to say to get listened to instead of trying to come off as bigots against LGBTQ, against gays and lesbians. They might pull some of this information out of the book and say, this is a Marxist program, and give them the data and show what you're really trying to do. And then they'll shut up because they can't accuse you of being a bigot or being hateful. That's what I say is the best way to fight the woke agenda. All the parents know it's bad. They don't understand why it's so bad. This will explain to you why it's so bad and that you're right. It'll support you. It won't call you a bigot. It'll show you that people who are LGBTQ, who are lesbians and gays, are against for a reason. Okay. And obviously there are many people against this that don't get don't get listened to because the search engines push their information down. Nobody finds out about it. Uh, People who are very smart in universities are criticizing woke. And we have a list of those. There are two sides to every story, and this is the other side. Uh, you can't listen to the propaganda and think that's the only side. Propaganda is when they do what you heard they're doing. They're taking the information and actually pushing it down the search engine so you don't find it, calling you a far right activist if you speak out against this, if you oppose this. The same thing that happened to me in the 1980s when I didn't want my daughter going to this program with older people because I didn't know who she was going to be with. I was called names and I was threatened. And it was all money. The guy eventually got arrested, but nobody was checking on him. And this is the same thing. So good luck to you. And the report is available online. It is $25. It is 180 pages of good research. It took me a long time to research this. Lots of it had to be done by hand. The AI search engines refuse to give me, certain information because they're also programmed to protect woke, and I had to work very hard at getting this information. And that's why my eye is not so good lately. So I would urge you to read it. It has uncovered a lot of things that I didn't even know, and I was shocked at what I found about woke. And I think you should read this book and find out. It's called Anti-Woke, Anti-Woke, and Unmasking the Assault on Children and Tradition by Investigative Voices. That's the group that I use, the pen name I use for all my reports so that they all show up on the same page. You can look up Investigative Voices online. You can um, you can look for anti-woke on Amazon. You can also go to cloverleaf.pub, and they're there amongst my other publications. And I really hope that you take a look at this book. If you're a parent and you're fighting these things and you're finding that you don't have any control over what they teach your children, this is the book for you. Okay, you're going to find information that you can bring up and they cannot fight you on it because you have the references. Okay, so good luck to you, and I hope that you don't have to send your kids to private school like I did. That's terrible. Homeschooling, maybe. Okay, bye bye now.